Gunnar, before we let you go, you obviously you're training partners, and I'm assuming it'd be safe to call you friends with Conor McGregor. I don't want to get into the whole Mayweather-McGregor thing at this moment in time, but one question I would have, and look, we know that Conor McGregor has ridiculous power with his left hand. I'm wondering, as someone who's trained with him, if you can quantify it for us. How heavy is the power in his left hand?
Yeah, he's got ridiculous power in his left hand. And even, I wouldn't even say, he has got amazing power in his left hand. But what's more important and what he's better at is his precision and timing with his left hand. And he can throw it from all different situations, from where he's backing off, where he's coming in, where he's kind of angled off and in a combination, and he just sets it up with all these different aspects, and it's just a very, very dangerous weapon. And if you haven't seen him before, from him, if you haven't sparred with him or fought him, I think it's definitely going to give you hell, and it's done that to all of his opponents.
The Luke Thomas Show, weekdays from 4 to 6 p.m. Eastern. On your
made an interesting point in the conversation I heard with you is nobody respects boxing.
Yeah, the Kankakee Journal was asking me, are Conor and Floyd going to fight? It's like, guys, I don't understand why you're not announcing this fight if you're a sports writer. A sports writer that hears there's going to be a fight will go to the source. He usually will not reach the source. He'll usually have to talk to a manager or a trainer or a coach or the guy's wife, a training partner. In this case, we can get straight to Conor, who's saying, yeah, we're going to fight, and we can get straight to Floyd, who's saying, yeah, we're going to fight. So you're either calling those guys liars or you need to announce the fight. And I don't know what media is waiting for, aside from we don't know the when and where. We've got the who and the what, but we don't have the when and the where. So it is hard to announce anything if you don't have a date and a venue booked. But you do have two fighters that are saying they're going to fight. So either their words are good or they're not. So I think the media should have announced the fight. However, I did make the point to him, but I made that point on this show as well. The mere fact that people are discussing this and giving Conor a chance means that people do not respect boxing. If I was to tell you I was going to go play LeBron James in basketball, you'd laugh. And if I stopped and said, no, Joel, I'm going to sell out an arena and I'm going to do $1 billion worth of business, I'm going to put it on pay-per-view and this is going to be a huge spectacle, then you'd really laugh. If I told you I was going to go play golf against Tiger Woods or I was going to go play tennis against Serena Williams, it would be a laughable thing. Here I am, a guy who's never done it, taking on a guy who's never lost in it. And that's what you've got with Conor and Floyd. Yet you have people giving Conor a chance, including people from the boxing world. And the bigger tell here as a society is that we just don't respect boxing. We do not respect that as a sweet science, as an art, as a form of any kind. And maybe we shouldn't. I believe we should, and I believe that fight lasts 30 seconds. The mere fact that people are giving Conor a chance, I think, is the biggest story of it so far. I think that is the biggest storyline. A guy who has never done it against a guy who has never lost at it, and you're giving the guy who's never done it a shot. And the odds makers and the fans, the media, even fellow pugilists from Floyd's side are saying that Conor can give him problems. And it just discredits and is an embarrassment to boxing. And maybe boxing deserves that. Boxing's a fringe sport at best. Nobody does it.
Well, that was your point that you said to Mr. Dykstra of the Journal. You said, listen, I'll challenge you that you've never met a boxer in your life. You don't know where the boxing gym is. And he said, Genesis MMA. No, Genesis MMA, yeah, you can buy boxing gloves. There's not a boxing coach in that gym. It's an MMA gym. The only place you know how to get boxing gloves is there's more MMA gyms now, even though the sport's 20 years old, than boxing. There are no boxers. You said, have you ever met a boxer in your life?
Yeah, I mean, I asked the guy that. Have you ever met a boxer? And he tried to say, yeah, a lot of people do it for exercise. I go, no. Do you know a guy that's put on gloves and got into a ring on Saturday night and boxed another man? Have you ever met him in your life? And he finally had to say no. And I personally like boxing. I am a boxer. I have boxed competitively at amateur, so I mean, I'm not turning on the sport. I'm turning on my own sport. But the reality is I didn't know that society did not respect it as an actual skill and as a legitimate sport. I did not know that. And my point that you could not take anybody and put anybody that's never done it and put them against the best who have ever done it in any other sport and give that other guy a chance. It's really quite fascinating in that regard. And, I made that point to him, and it's pretty infallible. I mean, you just can't get around it. Remember when he got a $150,000 fine and he was all upset for throwing that bottle? They've reduced it to $25,000. Somebody in the media called that a slap on the wrist. I don't know when $25,000 became a slap on the wrist. But at any rate, they got some resolution. I think he will pay that fine. He was refusing to pay the $150,000 fine, which just means he can't go back to Nevada. And that might even be able to follow him. They might even be able to get a judgment and follow him around to some other state. I don't really know how that works, though I trust they can. But at any rate, $25,000. I'll tell you this, though. None of that was really the point as much as I like the throw in the bottle thing. I thought it was funny when they took to throwing bottles at one another. Where it wasn't funny is out of camera shot from my computer where I watched that is apparently one of those bottles hit a kid. And so now the gig is up. They weren't just air balls or lobbed towards the Diaz brothers. Apparently it hit a kid. That's what the problem was.
Well, not the bottle. The bottle's not going to hurt anybody. It was the can of Monster that nipped the kid. Or maybe the bottle. I don't know. But I tell you this, why do people that have very little money or no money think that people with a bunch of money can just pay whatever?
Yeah, slap on the wrist, somebody calls it.
It's $25,000.
Yeah, a fine is not a slap on the wrist.
That's 2.5 stacks of high society, baby.
Yeah.
That's a little trip to Vegas.
25 dimes. That's gangster talk for $25,000.
Yeah, buddy.
So anyway, that was kind of the news that came out today, but I did think, first off, I thought it was good theater. You can't hit the kid. And then you just made a point that the can would hurt him, but the bottle wouldn't. If it hits a kid, the gig is up. All of a sudden, somebody has to get involved. I'm not sure anybody even gets involved for the bottle throwing. I'm not sure they don't say the same thing I did, which is it was funny. And the people that were up on stage with Conor were laughing. I mean, there was some good theater to that.
Hold on. Listen, if you are at a Conor McGregor Nate Diaz fight, you're one of two people. You're a lunatic Irish fan, or you're the 209. Okay? They don't care if they get hit with the bottles. Oh, what, he got hit with the bottle? That guy's like, I got hit with the bottle. Give the kid 25 dimes. Go find that kid and give the 25 dimes to the kid.
Give the kid the bottle and sign it. The kid would probably think that was cool. But I'm just saying, if you are a commission and a kid gets hit, the gig is up. Something has to be done, and something was.
Hey, or we're in Vegas. Let's skin it. Let's skin that 25. Let's flip it on a card. Let's skin it one time. We get that 25 and it's 50. You keep your 25. We lose it. It goes to the house. We're in Vegas, baby. You don't need Conor's loot.
All right. Onward and upward. You've got some notes. Let's get into it.
I don't have no notes. What are we going to talk about?
Why do you bring in those stack of papers and then I throw to you that you've got notes and then it turns out you don't have notes? What's with the stack of papers?
This is an untrue statement. I walked up here with you in this building with this bottle and this phone.
Oh, these aren't even your papers.
Yes, I said, hey, brother, can you get me some paper? And I said, well, okay, what are we going to do today? People think we just make a show out of the thin air. And it is fun yelling and screaming at each other. Oh, it's a ball. But sometimes we can't do it.
I still don't know what's happening. You have no notes, or is this a joke?
I have some notes.
Okay, that's what I'm asking. I just said, what are your notes?
Do you have an idea?
No, I want to know what's on your notes that you just denied having, and now you're saying you do have.
You said stack of notes. There's a stack of paper, and there's
a page of notes.
9 words.
I stand corrected. Read those 9 words.
Vanderlei fight.
Me. Vanderlei is fighting with me.
Okay. Would you like to expand on that, or can you?
Yeah, no, I can. So here's what's going on. And I've told you about this on the show before, that Bellator can keep a secret. And the way they keep it is they don't tell anybody. So I got put in that same spot sometime last week. Let's call it Friday. If I'm wrong, it's Thursday. But sometime last week, I get a contract sent over from Coker. And it is to fight in New York on June 24th at 205 pounds. But it does not say my opponent. Now, normally that would be a huge red flag, but Joel, I've told you this. I was armed with the information that both King Mo shared with me when he had the announcement of his Rampage fight and what Mitrione shared with me when he had his Fedor fight, which is that this is how Bellator signed them so that they could have this big ta-da moment. They don't bring anybody in on it. So, putting those dots together, I thought, okay, it's going to be Vanderlei. And I am going to be part of the announce team for King Mo versus Rampage. So I thought, okay, it's going to be Rampage, and they're going to bring Vanderlei out down the ramp at that show, and that's where they're going to inform me, and we're going to make this announcement. But I'm smarter than the average guy, and I've pieced this thing together. Well, no, that wasn't the case. All of a sudden, they put a press release out. I found out about this fight officially that it was Vanderlei. And I had plenty of clues that it would be Vanderlei, but I did not know it would be Vanderlei. I found out, I came out of practice, was it Monday? And Luke Thomas had sent me a text message. He wanted to talk about the announcement that I was fighting Vanderlei. And I wrote him back and said, is there an announcement that I'm fighting Vanderlei? I hadn't been to the computers or anything else. I was in a workout room. And Luke's like, yeah, Bellator just broke this news. You guys are fighting and it's on pay-per-view. It's like, okay, Luke, let's start from the beginning because I don't know. It was a cool moment for me. I liked finding out that way. Luke thought I was putting him on. He's like, oh, come on, you must have known. It's like, no, I didn't have time to tell him this whole story of, no, it was a blank contract, and this is kind of how they do it. I didn't tell him any of this, but I did have a moment like that. I was at lunch with Roger Pollock. I'm going way back to 2013, and I wanted to visit with Roger. I hadn't seen him in a while, so I didn't take my phone. I'm like most people with a phone, right? What do they call these, Crackberry? I mean, I know it's an iPhone, but right, Crackberry because you're addicted to it. And so I didn't take my phone because I'm hooked on it. I wanted Roger to have my attention and we could catch up. So I get back to my car and Kevin Iole had been lighting me up. And so I called him and he says, what about you doing The Ultimate Fighter? And he's the one that told me. He said, yeah, you're doing The Ultimate Fighter and then you're fighting John Jones for the World Championship. I didn't know any of this. Kevin's the one that had told me. So I had that same kind of moment with Luke. The only piece that I had wrong, and I was pretty close to putting this together, but the only piece I had wrong is they had announced it as opposed to doing like a surprise reveal at the Mo Rampage fight, which is what I thought would happen.